Sensitive guts. Look, that's a very common thing with people, animals alike now, because we're living in such a complex, overly polluted world, and of course, synthetic feeds make such a problem for these issues. But depends on what the sensitivities are. I mean, you always have to start with diet. So sensitivities can come from poor liver function. So if there's poor liver function, then any kind of fat in the diet will actually create a diarrhea. If you've got a sensitive pancreas, any kind of carbohydrate will cause some degree of diarrhea and inflammation. So depending on what's going on, you've always got to start with diet. And what I recommend that you start with is something as simple as turkey, removing red meat from the diet, because red meat can be actually an allergen and a trigger. And if you've actually dealt with the diet as simply as putting, raw meat, some grated vegetables together, and maybe even a raw egg, see how that goes. To actually stop diarrhea outright, slippery elm powder is what you would use. And then from there, you might need to tone up the, liver function, kidney function, and see how that goes, because obviously diarrhea is the end result of an overly active bile duct in some cases. If there is a bacterial infection or something like what we would call in human circles diverticulitis, they call that the same as with dogs, where there's pockets of infection brewing. I mean, these are all inflammatory conditions, and they do need a little bit more investigation. So a diagnosis is obviously important, but you can go through a process of elimination. As far as prebiotics go, we've got heaps of those sorts of things. We've got a product called the digestive, which works very well to slow down that transit time and also act as a prebiotic, and also has obviously herbal medicinal qualities in there as well. But when you're talking about anything like sensitivity with food, that really does come down to process of elimination, then toning up the liver, the kidneys, and the response of the body. Remember, we talked about the inflammation of it being an actual substance. We need to eliminate that inflammatory process. So that's a complex question. Seems simple, but it was actually quite complex. But if you need further information, please contact us, because we can answer that probably in more detail specific to your dog. We'd need to ask some questions.